Went to the psych ward, dude, and felt like I was gonna die 24/7 in there. You know, like everything you hear about a psych ward is probably dumbed down a little bit, I would say, because like, dude, it's fucking nuts in there. A lot of dudes are scared to cry in front of other people. Like I'm tearing up right now a little bit, but and I don't like doing that in front of people. I try not to, and that's why like I feel uncomfortable, but you got to get that shit out though, you know what I'm saying? Like and it takes courage to be able to do that shit too. He hit my son Landon and fractured, 4-month-old, fractured his skull, caused brain hemorrhaging, and you know, thank God I was in prison, bro, because I was ready to kill that motherfucker, dude. Like for real. I did MDMA, you know, when I was 16 and 18 and all that shit, you know, so I wasn't like scared to do it because I knew like what the effects were ahead of time. So I was lucky in that regard, and I knew that there was, it's chill. You feel good on it, you know, you literally do. But this was different because I'm going intentionally, and you go and I put this blindfold on, dude. It's fucking hard going and facing your darkness, facing your shadows, facing all that shit. It's the scariest shit in the world. But man, it's the most fruitful work I've ever done in my life by far, you know, and I still got so like, cause I used to always try and shy away from this on podcasts. You could listen on all podcasts I've been on. I always shy away and be like, yeah, but we all been through traumatic experience. But like, I get it now. I have experienced quite a more than the average kid growing up.
So what's your, you know, I could just say, what's your story, Zach, but that's probably a bit much. But you know, where are you from? You from St. Louis?
Yes, sir. You know, we all got that story, you know, I'll unpack, give you just a short version, and we can unpack more if you like, man. But dude, just grew up here in St. Louis. Father died when I was 7. Didn't really know how much that was an impact on me back then, how much it was going to impact me in my life. After that moment, just was like a tailspin, traumatic event after traumatic event, in and out of detention centers, boys' homes, rehabs, psych wards, you name it. Was always told like, you're a fuck up, you're a problem child, you're not good enough to be in school, you're not good enough to be your mom's kid, whatever, all that shit. And then I ended up doing over 5 years of my life in prison as an adult. Turned it around when I got out after 2 years, and I went back 20 days before my twin sons were born. And dude, I was like, man, I'm fucking done. Like that's like, because I remember my whole life was like I was going to be a good dad because I didn't have a dad. And I remember little stuff like seeing my friends like with their dads at football practice, just wishing like I had my dad there, you know? And so that was big for me. And so I turned my life around, was killing it, dude. Like I started killing it with my own podcast first, and built a $500,000 gross podcast agency, margins north of 40%, but I was still miserable inside, dude. I was happy for a little bit for a few years, but then I hit a point where it's just like nothing was ever good enough. And I just realized no matter how successful I was going to become, that I was always going to feel like that until I went inward and figured out some shit that was going on. And so that was in 2021, beginning of 2021. I've been doing extensive work on myself since. Became a better human, father, husband, friend, entrepreneur, competitor, all that as a process. But yeah, man, I'm just getting back in the game too. So I took some time away to do that, and now I'm getting back in the business mode, man. So I'm excited to be back.
Right on, bro. How did your dad die?
He died in a car accident. So crazy story. Just getting over this cold too, so if I sound a little wheezy or whatnot.
Oh, all good.
And a little stuffy. What you call it? He died in a car accident. He had cocaine in his system and alcohol in his system that they found in there, and weed. He was also with his girlfriend that was 23 at the time, and he was 52. And at the time, I didn't know. I look back on it now, I'm like, man, that's like, I don't know. For me, that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's too much of an age gap and stuff. So that's like not like he left my mom, and they had their problems. You know, I'm not blaming it all on my dad, and I'm not blaming it all on my mom, whatnot. They split, and shortly after that, he had got with this younger girl, and you know, and he was just a broken dude on the inside. And you know what I've come to realize, because I've also you know, met with my half brothers and sisters since then that I haven't seen since my dad's funeral when I was 7. I reconnected with them in my 30s. It's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah, real crazy. But what I come to realize is that he was just a broken dude on the inside, but I do know that he did love me, you know, and he was just trying his best, but he chose not to go deal with his shit, and it ate him up inside, man, and it consumed him, and you know, and that's where he ended up.
What? So was as far as you could tell, was life stable up until 7 years old? I mean, I know.
It felt like it was. It felt pretty stable. Because my parents were still together, you know, and we had just moved into this nice house, you know, and then it was in Wildwood, Missouri, and then 6 months after that they got the divorce, and then 6 months after that we're living in Ferguson, Missouri. So it's if you're from Missouri or in the St. Louis area, you know, it's a night and day difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I lived
But,
up there for a bit. Yeah, yeah,
it was a cultural shock to me, you know, go from Wildwood at 7 years old to Ferguson, you know, and then you know, I remember too, like it was just one traumatic event after the next, but I immediately started getting picked on at 7. So I'm going to my dad because I'm only seeing him every other weekend, and I'm going to him like, you know, like asking him what do I do, how do I defend myself, you know, and he's like teaching me little stuff about throwing punches stuff, but you know, literally right after we moved there and this happened, you know, and I'm only seeing him 2 weeks, then he passes away.
Fuck.
I didn't even cry, dude. It was crazy, man.
Couldn't.
My mom and sister were in the hospital. I remember it just like, you know, like vividly remember it, but I remember just like, it was shocking, but I didn't really like understand. And then I just remember like myself psychologically, like I look back on now, what I was doing was splitting myself.
Disassociating?
Yeah, and
yeah.
splitting it off. And that's exactly what I was doing. And my ego was just stuffing it and stuffed all that stuff for decades, man. And so after that, I just started getting in trouble in school. Wasn't going to school because I just didn't focus. It wasn't that I couldn't do the work, because, you know, whenever I actually sat down and focused, I could do the work.
Yeah.
But my attention was everywhere, and I didn't know how to deal with that trauma. I was eating. My mom would let me, you know, eat whatever, and I guess she was doing that because she didn't want to tell me like not to eat or whatever. But that's how I was coping with my dad's time. I became not like a huge fat kid, but I was a fat kid. You know what I'm saying? For a couple years. I was trying to deal with it that way, and then I started smoking weed at 9 years old to cope and stuff with this.
How'd you get introduced to weed at 9 years old?
Yeah, right. I thought that was normal, you know, and it's crazy. But my sister, she was 3.5 years older than me, and she hung out with friends that are a little bit older than her, and I didn't have a father figure around, you know, to weed out all that nonsense, you know, and didn't have a disciplinary figure at all. Like we could walk over my mom, you know, like she would try to say no, but like I wouldn't listen. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it just you know, and I know she wanted the best for me, and was doing intentionally what she thought was best for me, you know, but it just always didn't happen to be, you know, that, like, for example, man, she put me in rehab my first time when I was 9.
Rehab for weed?
Yeah, because I wasn't going to school, you know, and she couldn't get me to go. Like, she would try to get me to go to school more, like literally try and fight me out of my bed, and like dragging me out, and I would be like clinging to my bed and like, I'm not going, you know, like because I didn't want to be there, you know, and like I didn't, because it always, I don't know, this all that I didn't process it right, you know, and I guess I didn't work through it the right way, and it wasn't shown at that time, you know, and I'm a firm believer too, man, that, you know, you can't control what happens to you as a kid, but as an adult, it's your full responsibility to go back and handle it. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So, you know, that's that. But yeah, she put me in that rehab, man, and I got kicked out for fighting. I was the youngest guy in there, and you know, so
I imagine, yeah.
You know, I'm acting out, trying to, you know, get attention in all the wrong places and trying to cope and deal with this stuff, and get in a fight, and they recommend to my mom that they put me in a psych ward. And
why did they recommend that?
Why
do you think they recommended that?
Probably because I was a wild ass child, you know. but no, I didn't belong in no psych ward though. You know what I'm saying? I just need a little bit different attention. You know, a little bit of guidance, probably a father figure around, you know, or just a good male role model or something would have gone a long way for sure. That's why I'm real big on being a good father now. Yeah, I went to the psych ward, dude, and felt like I was gonna die 24/7 in there. You know, like everything you hear about a psych ward is probably dumbed down a little bit, I would say, because like, dude, it's fucking nuts in there. Wow. Like, you got the staff that is physically, mentally, verbally abusing you. You got kids that are just fucking psycho. That, like, and I didn't belong in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like quiet, like on like freeze mode kind of for the most part, you know, because you're in fight or freeze, and I'm just trying to be quiet and not like stand out or whatever. But there's kids in the corner like crying or laughing and shit, you know, and kids fighting other kids, and They're giving us drugs. I'm getting woke up at like all hours through the night with them drawing my blood and stuff and pumping me up with whatever kind of drugs it was. I'm lethargic, in and out of consciousness. Like it's wild. But yeah. So that was 9, and I felt like my mom, you know, like I know she loved me, but like I felt like in that, like she threw me to the wolves, and I was there by myself, you know, and that shit's tough, you know. Still dealing with a little bit of that, you know, that shit still stings, you know. I've wrote many letters about this shit, dude. For real, burn shit, and you know, I also feel like you know, a lot of dudes are scared to cry in front of other people. Like I'm tearing up right now a little bit. But and I don't like doing that in front of people. I try not to, and that's why like I feel uncomfortable, but you got to get that shit out though. You know what I'm saying? Like and it takes courage to be able to do that shit too. But yeah, man. We can go on and on, but yeah, it's been a journey, and dude, if I would have chose not to, like if I was in 2021, when I was sitting there, we're in Pensacola, Florida, first mastermind. I got 10 entrepreneurs from all around the US there. I'd just been in prison a few years prior. I'm getting ready to leave this mastermind in Pensacola, Florida, to go sit down with Sean Whalen at Lions Not Sheep to interview him on my podcast. And I'm miserable inside, bro. And I'm sitting there like, what's next? You know, and I'm just sitting there moving the goalposts. And had I not chosen that moment to say, you know what, I need to step back for a little bit and get myself right, dude, I would have self-destructed like no other, for real. That's some real shit.
How old were your kids in 2021?
My boys, they were turning 7. They were because this was January. I remember that we had that mastermind January 21, and their birthday's February 20th, so they were turning 7. Yeah, Lindley was 3, and dude, I'm so glad, dude, because like I was the type of dude that I was working so much. Like I had plenty of great memories with my kids prior to that, but I was working literally 16 to 18 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week easily, but sometimes 7 days a week since the moment I came home from prison till that, you know, and you know, I stopped doing that, and now like I'm so and even when I wasn't, then I was still like so like dialed in the business, like when I was away out, that's what I was thinking about, you know, and so I wasn't really like a present there with my kids, you know. There was times where I was, but there were so many where I wasn't, you know, and now I am, dude, and they got to see me turn that around. Dude, I've been coaching their football and wrestling, and not even just that, it's like we got this pond in the backyard here. We've created so many memories here at this spot. We're getting ready to move here too, but like just being present, dude, being there, you know, like I didn't have that as a kid. So and I look at where my kids are now, and I know it's crazy to kind of compare, but I do it all the time, and I just thank God. But like I look at myself where I'm at, or where my kids are at right now, my boys at 10 years old, and I look at myself where I was at, I was like, okay, we're doing right. You know what I mean?
What do you think your kids are seeing in a difference as far as like what a present father, you know, what does a present dad look like, and what did he look like before he was present?
They know that I care and that I show up, and that's what matters most, because there's times where I still fuck up, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm so much of a better father than what I used to be, but I fuck up still, you know, like I'll get agitated and let a yell come out there, and like I have to catch myself, you know, and anytime, you know, like, but they see me though, that like how much I've changed, how much more at peace I am with myself, how much more present than I am whenever the time that I dedicate, and how much like I spend more time with my kids than I feel like a lot of dads do now. And I'm not trying to put anybody else on. It's just something I chose that I wanted in my life, you know, and I'm living that out, you know.
So did you, you talked about, you know, writing notes and going through this healing process. Have you forgiven your mom?
There's still some stuff there, obviously, because that stuff was just coming there. There's still some hurt there that was just like coming out. Like I thought, you know, that like I was just telling before this interview, like business goals, it's awesome, man. It's linear, you can line them up, you know, line the targets up and knock them down, right? This inner work, this whatever you want to call it, this it ain't linear, man. It's like that, you know. You think like you're moving, you got over something, or you move past something, but then you start talking about it and it still stings, so there's still something there, you know. Or yeah, anytime, you know, not even just that, like even like other stuff outside it. So to answer your question, yes, 100%, there's definitely some more stuff there that I need, some more healing and stuff I need to do. But that's cool though, you know. It's like, doesn't mean like I'm a broken person or that I'm not okay right now. So I'm cool, you know. I'm still making moves and doing my thing now, you know. But that's something like the onion. It just, you keep on peeling back layers, right? And it just can't ever get to the core. That's a lifelong game, man, you know? And I feel like the more you do, the better you become, you know?
Yeah, it's because I think about like, I think about like joyful people, and you see someone that you're just like, that person is just at peace and at joy. Do you think that they have it figured out, or do you think even them, even a monk up in the mountains is just like, I don't know what's going on?
Man, that's hard to say, dude. I do believe that there's people that are truly at peace with themselves. I feel so much more at peace with myself, dude. I'm definitely not no enlightened monk though. I ain't there. I'm far from that. So that's hard to say. But I do believe that people can find that inner peace, and especially if they, I'm a believer in God. I don't push that upon anybody, but I believe in God, and that's whatever you want to call it. I do believe that we all can kind of feel like that energy source, and you can kind of feel like between good and evil and these things, right? And I believe the closer you get to that purpose that God gave you, the happier and more at peace you're going to be with yourself, and from my own experience, I feel like a lot of this shit really hit me here at midlife, when I, in 2021, when I'm 33 years old, midlife, and world's just getting flipped upside down. We all got our shadow, right? And when you hit midlife, it becomes harder and harder you can't conceal your shadow. You know what I'm saying? And we all got that, you know what I'm saying? We got parts of ourselves that's unexpressed because, society says that's looked down upon. So we quit acting a certain way, but it's still a part of who we are. And the more we can learn to integrate that with that ego, the more whole and complete you can be, or that, I don't know if you can get to that monk status, but,
When you're, so when in talking about that, do you think there's a change in society right now that's like telling people even more so than ever before to suppress their shadow, or what is that like, especially for men?
Yeah, man. Because look at like, you want to go down a rabbit hole with
Hell
this
yeah,
shit?
I do.
I've believed this way my whole life, and like 10 years ago, people would say I was batshit crazy, but now it's not crazy to think like the news is full of lies. You know what I'm saying? And like I believe that way my whole life, and like I never trusted in any prescription drugs because of the drugs they gave me when I was in that psych ward, and I knew what they did to me and stuff, and I was like, this shit's bad, and like I never knew, because I never needed none of those drugs. I knew it always fucked me up. So food system, you know what I'm saying, all that. Yeah, we can go on and on, but what was the question again? I started going on a tangent.
We were right about there, but as far as society goes, is it asking us to suppress our shadow more, even specifically men?
Yes, exactly, man. We're conditioned as men, like you can't cry, you can't ask for help, supposed to figure all this shit out on your own, and if you show any other emotion besides anger, you're weak or whatnot for the most part, and that's like in a lot of society ways, but also like our phones and devices and stuff, like it keeps you away from having quiet time and being able to sit still with your thoughts and emotions and just to sit with them. You know what I'm saying? And so many people, grown men, don't do that. I was in that mode for a very long time, but I also was very blessed too to have like a lot of solitary confinement in prison, and it helped me out so much. And like I know how powerful sitting by yourself can be. Not all the time, but you need time alone consistently, like throughout your life. Like block out the time, go for a fucking hike, with no phones, whatever, man. But yeah,
that's so a good friend of mine is Mark Joe. He's runs a coffee shop down in the city.
Okay,
called Omen. I'd love to get you guys together, but
heck yeah.
He went to prison also, and so he talks about when he was in solitary confinement. Like if you were talking, they would skip you for a meal. And so he was up in New York.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a little different.
So he goes, yeah, but if you were talking, they would skip you for a meal. And he goes, there were people that were just talking to themselves, just talking, and they would skip meals because they couldn't sit in silence. They could not sit with themselves.
You would go crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Like we had to talk through I had, from my experience, like we had like Cadillacs is what we call them, but you take the elastic string in your pants bands, and you just like get a pen and you get like one of the strings out, and it's elastic string, and then you tie it to like a comb or something that could slide underneath the door, and then you could pass whatever, if people are passing cigarettes or whatever, or stamps or whatever, or notes or whatever, but they had that communication with another human, or else you're literally going to go crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to have solitude, but not too much solitude. You know what I'm saying?
What was putting you in solitary confinement?
So I wasn't in solitary confinement. Like that's like some military high level grade shit. But I was in the hole. I was in the hole, and I was in the cell by myself. You know,
Okay.
but we still could yell out the door to people in
Got
the
you.
hallway. You know what I mean? So I still had interaction. You know, little bit.
Got you. And
Yeah.
what was getting you into those in the first place, or what got you into prison in the first place?
Yeah. What got me into prison, dude? My exact charges.
And how old were you?
Yeah, 19 was when I went in, and let's see if I remember all 6 felonies right off the top of my head. It's 2 counts of stealing over 500, assaulting a law enforcement officer, escape from custody, stealing a motor vehicle, and I can't remember the 6th one, but it was burglary first. That was the biggest one, burglary first, 2nd degree, and that was the one that got me the 7-year sentence. Yeah, man.
Assaulting the police officer didn't get you much?
No, it was a Class C, and I got written up to be, and you would think like I would like, you know, tell the truth now after all these years, right? I did not really truly like assault him. He was pissed off because I escaped from him, and he was an older dude, and he was fucking pissed off. So when the Good Samaritan caught me and he grabbed me by the chains right here, he kneed me in my groin, but he said that I was going to headbutt him and stuff, but I wasn't. But I deserved every bit of that, of course, you know. But I did not assault him. Okay,
put that on record right now.
I already did my time though, but just saying.
All right. Okay, so then it was the vehicle theft that got you 7 years.
The burglary first.
Burglary first,
because
okay.
it's secondary. So what we were doing, me and a bunch of my buddies, we didn't need to go steal because it wasn't like we were doing without. We were just being young, dumb teenagers, right? And we were going to hit up Clayton and Ladue and the nice parts of Missouri and or St. Louis, and all we do is not all we do. What we were doing, being dumb idiots, we'd go in people's car that left unopened, hit it for whatever it had, and then if they had garage door openers, we'd open that. We'd drive off, go hit off some other stuff, and then we'd come back, and if the garage door was still open, whenever we came back 20 or 30 minutes later or whatever, then we'd go steal power tools or whatever out there. We were just stealing stuff, being stupid. And because we went into somebody's garage, it's considered, you know, burglary first, breaking and entering, which is some serious stuff. You know, it's a Class B, and rightfully so. Got in trouble for it, and I got a 7-year sentence out of that. I'm grateful for all that experience too, man. Everything. I wouldn't change none of that, man, because it really, dude, it taught me a lot, and all that trauma. You know, like I'm glad that I'm going in now and like healing that shit up. It truly does make you tougher. You know what I'm saying? It makes you can withstand more. You know, it makes you a better fighter, whatever you want to call it. But I truly believe that if it doesn't break you in the process.
And then so you went in at, you said 17 or 19?
19 when
19
I went in. 17 when I caught a lot of
gotcha.
cases. 19.
And then so had you know the psych wards and rehab, had that kind of, I mean, almost in a weird way prepared you for prison, or like were you going in there fresh like, fuck, I don't know what's
it did prepare you, because it's like, you know, it's like a school to prison, right? What I grew up in, kind of, in a sense, but nothing can prepare you for prison, because like you go in there and you see all the shit you see on TV, and if you're going in there at 19 years old like I was scared shitless, you know, like I was traumatic in and of itself, bro. And on top of that, when I first went to prison, after I sat in county for 6 months waiting to get sentenced, I went into Bonne Terre, which is a diagnostic center where all the people on the east side of Missouri that are going to prison go, no matter what your crime is, until they sort you out and figure out what level of prison you're going to go to. And so you can end up with someone with a life sentence like I did, you know, and you're only going in there for 4 months. And so you're sitting there every night like, this guy killed somebody, and I wonder if he's going to kill me because I have such a shorter sentence. You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally what you're going to bed every night thinking, because this guy's a fucking psycho that you're living with in your 8x10 cell. It's fucking crazy, bro. Yeah. But this is, I forgot what the question was. I started rambling.
No, you're good. Did the psych ward and everything prepare you for it? You said, yeah, it did.
It does. But
if you're going into prison, you're gonna be fucking scared shitless.
Scared shitless. You don't know what to expect, and you know, you try to prepare for it all you want, but at the same time though, it is not as hyped up as like what you see on TV. It's a lot different. Yeah, if you're a bad dude, you're gonna get eaten up in there. Like what I mean by bad dude, like if you're like child molester, you're done for. What do you call it? If you're like a shady person, you get over on people, whatever, you're gonna be. If in prison, basically, if you stand on your own shit, you mind your own business, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna be all right.
There's a code in there still.
Yeah,
Just right.
you
Okay.
know. And there's a lot of there's a lot of scumbags in there, but that are truly are like, man, I feel bad for them, but they just been through so much evil and shit and as a young childhood, and like there ain't no fucking coming back for some of these dudes. Like I've literally seen dudes like that, like they're just like God is the only person that can, like these people are like some fucked up people, but then you also got mostly guys that are good dudes that just made some dumb decisions in there. You know what I'm saying? And there are some good dudes in there, and there's, like I said, there's some scumbags in there.
So and then you said you would get sent to the hole. Is that like kind of what happens? Is that for fighting? Is that for
Yeah, I've been down there for fighting before. Obviously, you're gonna get in a couple fights, when you first get in there, just the people test you, whatnot.
That's pretty much like guaranteed
for the most part. You're gonna get tested some way. You may not get in a fight or something, but the people are gonna like to see if you're gonna stand on your own or if they're gonna be able to punk you out of everything and whatever. But I went to the hole for this. I'll tell you about this crazy time, man. I went to the hole for tattoo violations. So I'd get tattoos in there, and then if you get caught because it weren't on your sheet or whatnot, then you get written up, and then you get in trouble or whatnot. And they start off with room restriction where you got to wear this we call them deer hunter vest because it's an orange vest or whatever, and you have to wear that anytime you leave the room, and then you have to stay in your room at all times except for to shower and to go to eat. Well, I got a bunch of tattoo violations, and so they sent me down to the hole for 60 days. And dude, 2 weeks into it, I get called back to the captain's office, and what do you call it? I'm in shackles and cuffs, and we go from the hole, and the hole is literally, it's the prison inside of the prison. It's like dark, dirty, lonely, depressing until you clean up the cell, and then it's not dirty anymore, but it's fucking filthy when you first get in there because there's just some nasty people in there. But after I get done with it, you can eat off the cell, but off the floor. But so it's just not a good place. It's you're trapped in the cell. You can walk 3 steps this way, 3 steps the other way, and that's it. And you get out for showers 3 times a week, and if you're lucky, you get to go out a couple times a week to the cages for an hour outside. Get some sunlight if you're lucky. So I get called back to the captain's office. I'm in shackles and cuffs. Go back there. I'm 21 at the time, 2 years in. This is during a 4-year stint, and I'm 2 years into it. And he's sitting back behind the desk with his white shirt and his gold badge, black hat on, me mug. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, "Mr. Babcock, how long you been locked up?" And I'm like, "I ain't got nothing to say, man. Put me back in my cell." Because I'm thinking that somebody told on me for something, or they're trying to get me to tell on somebody else. And I'm like, "I don't got nothing to say," or whatever. And he's like, "Well, when you come back down here, it's nothing good, right?" I was like, "I don't have nothing to say. Just put me back in my cell, man. I'm getting out in whatever, 45 days, whatever at the time." And he's like, "Yeah, we got a call, and your mom let us inform us that she found your sister dead in a bathroom with a needle in her arm." And so like, I wasn't expecting that, you know what I'm saying? And I just remember it just hit me, and I sat there for like a few seconds or whatever, and then like my vision blacking out, and then it coming back and just tears busting out. It gave me a 30-second phone call to my mom.
Fuck.
Yeah. We're crying, telling each other we love each other, and then the phone disconnects, and then I asked to be put back because I had a cellmate, and I asked to be put back in the cell because the hole wasn't even filled up at the time. I asked if I could get a cell by myself, and luckily the guards were cool, you know what I'm saying, because they didn't have to, but they let me get a cell by myself for the next 3 days. And all I did was just sit there and cry and think about, all, like, in those situations, you start thinking about all the mean and hurtful things you do to that person or whatever, and the goodbyes you don't get to tell them and shit like that. It was tough. And I remember that 3rd day, though, dude, I just woke up. And I just was like, man, God, I don't know why, I don't know why I'm still here, but I know there's a reason. What can I do right now to find happiness and peace? And, that question led me, God in that moment, and that question led me to, putting together this crazy OCD routine, bro. Like, I'm talking about OCD don't have shit on me. Like, it was like to the T every single day, doing the same exact thing, toothpaste in the same exact place, work out at the same time, clean up the cell at the same time, everything,
And that came from just, asking God for something to
Yeah, like
show you light.
Yeah, it's like, what can I do right now to find happiness, peace? And he gave me it. And he was like, you're trapped in a cell. You don't really have much freedoms, but you could respond this way and, take authority, take responsibility for what you do have, you know what I'm saying? And maintain that. And just those little acts of, praying, being thankful for the food that was coming in, and being thankful that I had heat and cooling, or it was summertime at the time. I had AC, thankful just that, that I was alive, just little stuff like that, that I, cleaning up every day, that I was healthy, I would pray, being thankful that I was able to work out and had a healthy body. Little things like that changed the whole like outlook. And like, dude, I found at that time was like the most peace that I've ever been at myself in my life at that time, at the end of that. And I had just lost my sister and went through some real dark shit.
Man, so my buddy Mark, who I mentioned before, you guys like, you have something similar going on of this thing where it's like in prison, terrible things are happening, obviously, but you, like, it seems like the people that truly get rehabilitated from prison or while they're in there is like gratitude is the first thing that comes about.
Grateful for just to be alive, man, for what you do have, Yeah, I had to remind myself of that lesson here, because I kind of got away from that being here at this house where I'm at now. Like, it's a nice house, and that like after all that success, like I started getting like I caught myself and started getting a little grandiose there, man, and like a little cocky even, and like that was never me. And I started not liking who I was becoming. This was prior to that 2021 experience,
Gotcha.
and whatnot. But when I was noticing that grandiosity and stuff, and then even here, dude, like after we moved here, like I still got to remind myself, like sometimes I'll drive down to Ferguson,
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
yeah.
and just drive through there and be like, okay, man, be grateful, like we're not here no more, be grateful what you got.
How did, if you don't mind me asking, how did your sister get into, was it heroin that she overdosed on?
Yeah,
How did she get into that?
man, I was doing it too. Just the neighborhood that we grew up in, and I don't know like the real reason, but I believe it was because of the experiences that we went through, of losing the dad. She lost her dad, was in a bad neighborhood with bad influence, and just didn't have that guy, and didn't really have a father figure after that, and I truly believe, like, man, you need a father figure and a mother figure in the home, I mean, you do. There's plenty of kids that go on to be successful that don't, or whatnot, or go on to live good lives or whatnot after. But you look at it, man, it's overwhelmingly like a home that's not broken. It's the kids go on to do a lot better, So that's what I want to provide for my kids.
Did your mom have boyfriends and things going in and out? Did any of that ever have an impact on you?
Yeah. You want to hear some crazy shit?
Yeah.
And this is stuff that I have to deal with that, it's like shit that I'm ashamed of, looking back, and stuff that I still probably got more work to do on. Because I still feel bad about it. But like, I would run all her boyfriends off. Like, dude, I caught him, like, remember one time I was like 8 years old or something, or 9 years old or something, heard my mom having sex with another dude, like the Forrest Gump sounds type shit, dude. Yeah. And I'm banging on the door and shit, and like making the sounds back, like in the movie in the Forrest Gump.
Man, no fucking way.
Yeah, dude. And I deal with shame and guilt of that, even though I was just a kid, you know what I'm saying, and like just was hurt, and didn't want my mom to be with nobody else but my dad, and that was that's wrong on me, you know what I'm saying, like for to expect that of my mom, you know what I mean. So yeah, there's that.
Man. And then, okay, so well, actually, about your dad, like, what do you remember about him? And do you have things that you admired about him?
Yeah. That's why, super grateful, man, that, I do have memories. Like, I know he cared about me. I know that he loved me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he'd still come and get me every other week. And we had plenty of times and moments. Like, I remember one time he came and picked me up surprisingly. And it was on a weekday, so I wasn't expecting it. And I'm like 6 or 7 or something. And, playing with my friends, and I pulled up on his Harley and stuff, and I got to get on there with him in front of my friends. That was cool.
Oh,
yeah.
So I know it was young when he passed away, but is there anything about what he did as a father that you want to also reflect as a father?
That's a good question. Oh man. Honestly, man, if I'm being honest right now, he wasn't a great example of, he worked all the time. Connected with my brother Brian, who's 16 years older than me. We got the same dad, different mom. And like I said, I haven't talked to him since my dad's funeral. I connected with him this past year, and he told me like how my dad never even made it to his games and stuff, and like that's sad, So, I remember that with my dad. Like he was always working. He was top salesman, top used car salesman and just always grinding though. And he was a go getter, and I see where that comes from and stuff, and me or whatnot. I definitely get that from him, and I appreciate those qualities, his work ethic. I feel like though I feel like he definitely needed to do a better job at being present with his family.
Mm-hmm. And then you're in prison. So how far in are you when you get the call that your sister has passed away?
Yeah, it was 2 years. So I went in when I was 19. That was 2 years in. I was 21 at the time, and so I had 2 years left before I ended up getting back out.
Then you get back out. And then
cultural shock,
bro. Well, tell me about that,
bro. I went in. It was 2008, and I'm from Ferguson, and I grew up trying to be like a gangster rapper. You know what I'm saying? So I fucking wore the jabots that were size 44 in the waist when I should have been wearing a size 30, 32. You know what I'm saying? So, and we had flip phones, and so it's 2008. The iPhones had just came out, and I never even seen one, right? And because I got locked up April of 2008, and get home, and I remember my mom bring up a pair of clothes, and I remember getting in them, and like I could fit my whole body into one leg of my jeans, and I was like, Mom, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to live off here or nothing, but can we go buy and get a pair of clothes that fits? You know what I mean? And she was smiling, and she took me to Target, and we went into Target, and I had like a meltdown inside, like so much anxiety because like I'm going and everybody's like smiling, and like I'm used to the last 4 years, like everybody minds their own business. Yeah. Somebody's walking around with a smile on their face. People are friendly and coming up and conversating to you and being social and stuff. Like that was like not normal to me at this point.
Was it scary, or was it just like unsettling, or what was it?
I was just like unease, and like I still like, even when I go into stores now, like big stores around a bunch of people, I still get anxiety. Like I feel it, and so there's still something there or whatnot. And I know a lot of other people do too. Man, I was talking about getting anxiety from in the Target, and what really did it, man, is after we got the stuff, I'm freaking out and having a panic attack inside. So I'm like, Mom, can I get the keys and go back outside? And she's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so I tried to go out, and I tried to go out through the middle doors, the sliding doors. I got sliding doors to exit and the sliding doors to enter, and then I got sliding doors in the middle for the carts. And I tried to go out the middle doors, man, and they weren't open.
Oh Lord!
And so I thought like they locked it on me, and like I was like, they're gonna try and frame me and send me back to prison. I don't know, I don't know why that was going through my head, but just little shit like that. It was a cultural shock, and then I didn't even know what to order off of Applebee's after we went to Applebee's right after that, and I just ordered the chicken strips because I didn't know what else. Because I was just having a panic attack to even look at the menu, and then last but not leastly, first time hanging out with my buddy Andrew, I was getting the phone to call my buddy Pat, and he handed me the phone. And I couldn't figure out how to use the phone because I never had a smartphone before, and it had all the apps on there. And I'm like,
what in the fuck?
I'm like, bro, I don't even know how to use the fucking phone on your phone, So yeah, it was different.
And then just adjusting just kind of come as, you just figure it out as you go. And
it adjusted pretty quickly. Like within 2 weeks, everything felt pretty normal,
Gotcha.
But it was just a little cultural shock at first.
Gotcha. Cool. I want to definitely want to talk about the MDMA therapy that you've been talking about, but I got one more question around this while you were in prison, if you're cool with that.
Absolutely.
You have talked about, so, you have kids a second time because you go in once, you get out, and then you go in again for a short stint. Is that right?
Yep. So I've been in and out of prison a few different times before I went and did my big stint. A couple of 120 rehab stints, like they have rehab programs in prison that you go through or whatnot. But yeah, I did a 4-year stint, and then I got out for 2 years, and then my twin boys were born right before I went back for 8 months.
This was what year?
This was so I got out in 2012, and then I went back in February 1st of 2014, and got out on my wife's birthday, October 2nd of 2014.
Okay. And then while you're in there, I've watched some of your stuff, and so was it your wife's was it your girlfriend, your wife at the time, the mother of your children? She has a guy in her life who fractures one of your kids' skulls. Is that right?
Yeah.
What was that? What happened there?
Whew. I wrote many.
If you're cool with going there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is an area where I've healed a lot in, which is good. This was actually really it was harsh, man. I went back to prison 20 days before my twin sons were born, and before I went back in, I wasn't being a good dude, and me and Stephanie were, dude, I was just like, fuck you at this point, whatever. We were gonna go our separate ways, and and I'm out getting drunk all the time, seeing other women, just being a dirtbag, throwing my life away because I had just gotten fired, and I chose to be defeated mentally. I had just gotten fired from the Buckle after I had a job locked in as a barback and a cook, and that was my jam. And my mindset at that time, I was like, I'm good. I'm not going back to prison. This is paying bills or whatnot. And I get the job at the Buckle because I shop there all the time. And then I got promoted first week there because my first time I sold 3,000. The whole store did 9,000 that day. So I was literally 1/3 of the whole store operation within a 6-hour shift, and they gave me the promotion. And then 2 days after that, like, oh yeah, Mr. Babcock, you're a convicted felon. You got to go. And so I was like, fuck. And I was like, dude, I literally just quit the job where I had stability, got this, thought I was moving forward, advancing in my life. And then bam, this comes. And so I let that defeat me. And I started just throwing my life away, being an idiot, making poor decisions, getting drunk, drowning everything in alcohol. And went back to prison, 20 days before they were born. And I guess, Stephanie was hurt by it because I was seeing other women before I went back, and we were done, but we were just gonna raise the kids, what do you call it, collectively, but like separated.
Gotcha.
And but I guess it wasn't good enough, for her and Ryan at the time, the guy that was the baby dad of one of the girls that I was seeing. And so Stephanie and him hooked up, and I guess that wasn't good enough for him, and he hit my son Landon and fractured, 4-month-old, fractured his skull, caused brain hemorrhaging. And thank God I was in prison, bro, because I was ready to kill that motherfucker, dude. Like for real. Like I was gonna gouge one of his eyeballs out and fucking make him eat it. You know what I'm saying? Like I was gonna do some vicious shit to that dude. And I still probably got some more healing left to do there, but I've done a lot of work in that area. I've wrote many letters on this and burns it, but thank God I was locked up at the time.
How for real? I mean, like, bro, I just hear that, and I don't even.
I just thank God that my son's okay.
Yeah.
For real, I thank God, and I'm grateful that I'm in his life and that he's okay. And I don't know what kind of effects traumatically like that's gonna have on him, and I'm gonna have to tell him about this, one day, and but I think that he's okay and he's good. So that's why I'm at peace with it.
Do you think that's interesting then? Do you think it's gratitude that like almost stopped you from killing that guy? I mean, even once you're out, I
think it was God's divine intervention, having me in prison there, and then making sure that I was there long enough to realize that it's far more important for me to be in my kid's life to go and kill this dude,
Gotcha.
I think that's all it was.
Man, that's just at Buckle. What made you such a great salesman? What made you
just connect with people? I guess my dad was a great salesman. I don't try and hard sell people. I just listen to people and what are you trying to get? What's your problem? And then if I can help you with it, I'll help you.
How simple is that? A lot of people miss that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so then 2021 is when you kind of start going down the MDMA therapy route, going down these. How'd you even discover these things, and like what made you so interested in them? Yeah,
man. Right after that mastermind and sitting down with Sean Whalen is like, because right before this I had interviewed Tucker Max on my podcast on a Zoom interview, and it was like a cool interview, and then like about 20 minutes or so into it, he said something that really like at first, because he said something, because I was contradicting myself, talking about like how my mom raised me right, because I get all my confidence by how my mom raised me, but there's also, and then I said, but then there's also times where I'm not confident because of that. And he's like, well, you just contradicted yourself. And he was calling me out on my shit, because there was that unresolved trauma that he was calling me out on. I didn't know what he was doing at the time. And so I'm like, in my mind, my knee jerk reaction is like, man, fuck this dude. Who is this? You don't even know me, dude. Like, we're talking for the first time, you know? But, you know, I stopped the ego, and I was like, just, what if he's right? Like, let's just see what he has to say, and let's see what's going on, you know? And we started going more in that conversation. I started getting more and more curious about it. And then, you know, was already experiencing just not feeling like I was good enough every time I would achieve a business goal. And so by the time, you know, we get to this mastermind, and I felt like that's when I was like, all right. Immediately I started spending more time with my kids, and then I started studying trauma, the effect, what it is, the effects and whatnot, unresolved trauma. And then I also started looking into plant medicine and stuff too, because I had some friends that told me about their ayahuasca journey or something. I was like, man, I don't know about all that shit, man. But started looking more into plant medicine as a whole, and came across and Tucker Max had been a great mentor for me in this regard since then, you know. And he kind of like shared his experience about MDMA assisted psychotherapy. And then he also shot me to this book, A Dose of Hope by Dr. Dan Engel. And it's a good book talking about, you know, it tells it in story format, so it's not like all jargon and stuff, but it tells it in story format on, you know, what it's like going to do these sessions, because he administers these MDMA assisted psychotherapy sessions. And so I got him on the podcast and was able to pick his brain even further. So I did like almost a whole year of really just like, not just going to jump into something, but like seeing like, all right. And then, you know, that's what everybody should do, because this is a disclaimer. I ain't no medical dude. I'm just sharing my experience, you know what I'm saying? And I did my own due diligence about it. And so I went and did it. And, you know, I did MDMA, you know, when I was 16 and 18 and all that shit, you know, so I wasn't like scared to do it, because I knew like what the effects were ahead of time. So I was lucky in that regard. And I knew that it's chill. You feel good on it, you know, you literally do. But this was different, because I'm going intentionally, and you go and I put this blindfold on, dude. And my guide, she's there, an older lady, and she puts on, and she's just a country old lady, not no like some woo woo or something. She's like she's good old lady, cooler as shit too. And put on this little soothing soul like music or whatnot in the blindfold, and I took my dose, and about 45 minutes later it starts kicking in, and what it does is it cracks your psyche open, and all those suppressed traumatic experiences that your ego suppressed, that you literally forgot about, come bubbling up to the surface. So much shit that I forgot about, like getting shot at by crack dealers because we stole their crack, like because like you put their hand in the door, and we'd slap the crock rocks out of their hand in Kenlock, and then we'd skirt off, and then bam bam they shoot at the car, and they had bullets hit the car and shit. I forgot all about shit like that, you know. And like, you know, all that shit comes bubbling up to the surface, and what it does right there in that moment is you get to feel those emotions that you suppress right there, and you have this somatic release. And my jaws were literally chomping, like, because I had so much somatic release, dude. And my calves look like hands and fingers are coming through, because I'm having these muscle spasms. And after, you know, all these you know, experiences come through, and you get to feel them out afterwards, you know, you get up to the toilet, and I had a little bit of diarrhea and a little bit of throw up, and it was literally trauma leaving. It's stored in your stomach, and you can go read a book, The Body Keeps the Score, by Dr. I can't pronounce his name, but yeah, and it talks all about how it's stored there and how it comes out. And dude, I had lived my entire life on edge prior to this, my entire life, from on edge, drugs, women, violence, doing stupid shit, to switching that to business success, knocking down goals, whatever. And nothing ever gave me a release ever until I did this shit. And that was just the beginning. You don't, like, that's just, okay, you get a good release and get that shit out of your system. But now you brought all that shit up. Now you got to do the integration work and let go of that shit. Let go of all this guilt and shame and and not feeling good enough and all this shit. You got to work through all that shit. And that's, like I said, it's no linear process.
That shit sounds exhausting, man.
It is,
What
man.
is the, how do you
It is
integrate
the absolute hardest work
Yeah.
I've ever done in my life, period. Nothing in business even comes close to this shit. Even comes close to this shit, dude. Like, it's hard. It's fucking hard going and facing your darkness, facing your shadows, facing all that shit. It's the scariest shit in the world. But man, it's the most fruitful work I've ever done in my life, by far. You know, and I still got so, like, because I used to always try and shy away from this on podcasts. You could listen on all podcasts I've been on. I always shy away and be like, yeah, but we all been through traumatic experience. But like, I get it now. I have experience with quite a more than the average kid growing up, like in psych wards and all that shit. So I get it. I got a big backlog of shit that I've been working on, and that's cool. But dude, the more I do this shit, the more at peace I become, and the more, you know, whole. You know, and I still got fucking plenty of shit, dude, to work. You know what I mean? I am not no fucking saint, dude, but this has definitely made me a better person all the way around the board.
Does that work look like meditation on a daily basis? Does it look like just thinking about these things? What does that look like?
So like the actual integration work, man, dude, there's so much shit, but dude, martial arts is one of the big ones, dude. Oh my God, like getting
Got you.
Exercising, you know what I'm saying? Anything, moving your body, but martial arts for sure.
And so martial arts would not have been as effective to you before going through this experience, you think?
I don't know. I think it would have. I thought it would have brought me to this close. If I would have probably gotten martial arts sooner, I would have probably started working on this stuff sooner. Because man, anybody's done martial arts, you know how good you fucking feel mentally afterwards. Mind, body, soul, dude. So yeah, because you know, when you got all these trauma stuff, you probably either learn into I can't remember what it's the actual psychological term it is, but people lean into either more thinking stuff, like they'll lean into more of that capacity, and they'll get so, like, they'll become experts in a field, and they're so far advanced in this capacity of thinking that they're so animalistic in their feeling capacity, or vice versa. They'll get so far in the feeling and yada yada. So it's like you want to balance it out, and I don't know what that term's exactly called again, but that was with me. I had gotten so far into my thinking that I had gotten out of my body, dude. Like I had gotten so, like, I came home from prison like in great shape. And then after entrepreneurship, it wasn't entrepreneurship, it was the unresolved trauma in entrepreneurship. Fat, out of shape, horrible relationships. I wouldn't say horrible, but not good relationships the relationships that I wanted in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to be in my kids' life more. I wanted to not be yelling and cranky and shit. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah.
Part of just as what the integration looks like. And
Integration. Martial arts, dude. Dude, I've written like letters, not for these people, but like there's so for example, I have shame, you know, with myself. I've written letters to myself, forgiving myself and burning and letting go. And I know it sounds cheesy, but that whole ritual of like getting it out, you know, and you're probably crying while you're writing and getting that shit out. And then you get to read it, and then you get to physically release it and let go and shit. And it doesn't mean it magically let go. Sometimes you got to write 20 fucking letters on the same subject. You know what I'm saying? But it's more and more. It digs a little bit deeper. It's getting more to that core each time.
And then what do you feel like if you, after, let's say you've written 20 letters and then the 20th one is the one that hits, what is it? How do you know that that's the one that, like,
you never know? Because I thought that shit hits, like I thought I was good with my mom, but then I started like noticing like me almost tearing up, wanting to cry just a minute ago when we were talking about that shit. So it's like, it's not a linear process. That's what I mean by that. It's like,
so then the indicator that it's not healed is things like that popping up. Like if I talk about it, I'm still
indicators like that. And another indicators would be like knee jerk reactions. Like you catch yourself and then you're like, oh, I didn't mean that. No, that's your shadow. And it's harder to conceal your shadow once you hit midlife. The older you get, the harder it gets to conceal it. So what that whole saying of what got you here won't get you there. You at midlife, man, it's like it shakes it up, holds so many of your long held beliefs and principles that you were raised by your parents and teachers, conditioned through society and all this stuff. A lot of them get flipped upside down and shit because what I've realized is that I was living what was expected, what was projected onto me. And I didn't create my own identity in the process. And you get that opportunity at midlife to create that, you know, and that's the cool part about it, you know, if you go and dive into it.
How do you go about, like, if I were to want to go out, honestly, when I'm thinking about this right now, like I feel fucked up in a lot of ways, and I don't really have a traumatic. I mean, I had good parents and everything, and they were there my whole life. What I'm afraid of if I go and do MDMA therapy and there's nothing there, and so then I'm just like I'm fucked up, and it's not because of anything. It's just because I'm just fucked up as I am.
I don't know, man. Like that's something like, do you feel like you need to be going to? Do you feel like there's something there? Is that why it's not calling you?
Honestly, yeah.
Well, look into it first and foremost and see if it's for you. For me, it was a life changer. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's different. You know what I'm saying? The only reason why I really went all in for me, what was the needle mover for me, was when I was reading the book Dose of Hope, and Dr. Dana Engel shares about how they're having a 70% cure rate in clinical trials with veterans curing PTSD. And so I was like, man, that's smashing everything. Like, there's nothing that's even coming close to that. So I'm gonna try this. I'll give it a try. And that's what did it for me. But everybody's different, so that's gotta be a personal decision.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's some interesting stuff, man. Like I've always been. Have you ever do mushrooms and stuff?
Oh yeah, psilocybin, microdosing. Oh my God, that's helped with my anxiety so fucking much.
Oh,
dude.
How so? So you microdose. How does microdosing work?
So you just take like 0.25, nothing, just a little microdose. You don't even feel it. Shit, it's just running around in the background, dude. You can take it before you go to bed. And dude, what it does, if you look into it, and I'm not no fucking doctor and go do, I'm disclaimer on all this shit. Don't come at me, dude. Like, I'm just sharing my experience, but I found through my own studying and whatnot about how it creates new neural pathways in your brain. Literally, it creates new neural pathways in your brain, psilocybin. So it makes you smarter, makes your brain function better, helps with your anxiety, and helps if you're in a healing process with that too. So for my own experience, 1000%. Yeah.
So what, and then we're talking about the healing process, and you've talked about how, like, healing, you don't got to be a bitch to be a healing. You got to be a man to be
warrior.
Healing. Yeah, warrior to be healing. What do you think, how would you define, like, what a man is? How do you?
A man is someone that for me, it's someone that literally goes and faces that shit, because if not, you're a scared, hurt little boy. You know what I'm saying? That's who I was. I was a scared, hurt little boy that was running away from that shit because my ego was suppressing it, thinking that it was protecting me in the process when it was really holding me back and hurt me. Yes, it did help me. That all that trauma helped me build that business and got me to that point, but it wasn't getting me any further than that, and it was getting ready to take me down. Just as soon as what takes you up is also what's going to take you down. It was getting ready to take me down too, man. I firmly believe that in my heart. So yeah.
How are you going to teach your kids to, you got your boys, how are you going to teach them to be men? How are you going to teach them to face that? Because arguably, right, obviously you said that prison made you stronger and you're grateful for it, but you don't want your kids going to prison and being strong. So
right, how
are you going to give them adversity while you already have, a successful life for them?
That's such a damn good question, man. And, and I don't even know if I got the right answer for it, but I feel in my heart I do. And I learned a good lesson, man. So my kids, they started wrestling, this would be their 4th year. So the first 2 years, second year, we were out at a tournament, and it's a 3-hour away in Lebanon, Missouri. And, my kids are 8 years old at the time. Well, they're playing, I got twin boys, and they're playing I'm sitting there in the stands because I'm not a coach this year. I was new to wrestling. I just started coaching this year wrestling. I was coaching their football team, but I just started coaching wrestling this year. And I'm watching them playing and goofing off the entire time, like to a point where it's like they're not even worried about the tournament. Like they're distracting and whatnot. So I'm getting mad and whatnot. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have a talk with them on the way home. I'm gonna let them do it. I'm gonna have a talk with them on the way home because I ain't gonna go down there, whatever. Well, on the way home, I get a long text from Coach, like when I had to scroll, you know what I'm saying, like autobiography and stuff. And he's telling me like, hey man, there's a time and place for everything. I get it, kids play and stuff. So it was to a point where he had to text me or whatever. And I yelled at him, dude, and immediately felt like shit afterwards. Always do. And I yelled at him about it. I was like, dude, whatever, like you can't be fucking around, whatever. And that deterred him from wanting to wrestle. And I almost fucked it up completely for him. And they didn't wrestle last year. And I didn't force the issue on them. And I was really hurt by it. I was like, man, I fucked that up. Like that was their best sport. Like there's some fighters, like that's their best sport by far. And like that's something that they can go in and really build their confidence and build all these other great character traits, through that. And I was down out about it, but I didn't force it. And I got into jiu-jitsu myself, and I went and competed myself. And my son one day, this past summer, was looking through his trophies, and he was like, Dad, I got all these trophies, man. I was pretty good at wrestling, man. I was like, yeah, it was your best sport by far. And he's like, I want to get back in. I was like, fuck yes, you know? So the lesson from that is what I learned is like, I'm not going to try and make my kids do shit. I'm not trying to force them. I'm just going to try and lead by example.
Lead from the front, man.
You
That's
know?
fucking amazing.
And that's it.
What about you got a daughter that's a few years younger than your twin boys, is that right?
Yep. So I got Isabella. She's my stepdaughter, but I love her just like my own. And it's her first year wrestling. I'm so excited for her. She had her first match win and stuff last week and a half ago. And it's just like all my kids, they all wanted to get into it this year. And it was, I truly believe because they seen me just doing it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to try to push it on them. And now, you know, before I used to be, but yeah, I got Isabella, she's 15, and then my daughter Lindley is 6. I used to like be the dad that would be like after practice, harp on them on what they could do, but like point out the good stuff. Like, dude, don't do that shit. If you're doing that to your kids, don't fucking do that. Don't even fucking talk about it after that. Like talk about fucking camping trips or fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like fucking,
yeah.
If you really want to get on them, find a fucking other coach and have other coach get on them. You know what I'm saying? You be there and like, hey, it's all right. You stay on them and shit, but you don't do that shit, man. And so, yeah, it was a great learning experience for me in that regard.
And then, and as far, I imagine I know the answer, but as far as teaching your daughters, you know, when they get older one day and they're going to start dating and looking for a husband and these things, how are you teaching them what kind of a man to look for?
How I treat my wife, you know, like that's it, man. That's where they're going to get it from. So, and I got to work on that too, because when me and Stephanie, we do really good, but then there'll be times where we get on each other's nerves, and I'll be like, I want to say something to her, you know, like whatever, you do it then or something, you know, and I got to watch myself because my daughter's watching that shit, man, and I still have times where I slip up, you know, and not perfect, but I'm getting better though.
Man, that's so one of my the first business that I tried doing was video memoirs. It was going into older folks' homes and getting their life stories and then passing it down to their families. But something that whenever I would ask that question, you know, like what are you teaching your kids or whatever about love? They're like, man, you just got to show your kids that you love your wife, and you know your wife you love your husband. Like that is like the most important thing that time and time again they would say. Dude, show them that how you show love.
It's crazy. People. You see parents do it all the time. They try and teach their kids something that they're not doing. I was guilty of a lot of that, man. Lead by example. Yeah. So many ways. They're not, flat out, kids ain't going to do what you say. They're going to do what you do. Period, man.
That's right. Yeah, that's my parents are like some of the few people that I look at and I'm like, oh, they're 55 years old and they're still in love.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's very, very inspiring. But cool, man. So actually I wanted to ask you about your tattoos. Would you like your tattoos still? Would you get rid of any of them or? Yeah,
I love them. I don't regret any of them. If I didn't have them and I were to get tattoos now, I'd get different ones.
Gotcha.
You know, but I don't regret. I don't say like, oh man, I regret. I don't, because it tells the story of who I was at that time.
Gotcha.
You know, and so like little story like I got it's funny because the first tattoo I got ever was trouble on my chest, and the reason why I got it is because I was trying to project that outwardly that I was a tough guy, but I was scared shitless on the inside in prison for the first time. And so I'm trying, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it just tells the story, you know.
Is that the most meaningful one to you, or which one is the most meaningful?
I'd say that's one of the most meaningful because it was the first one, you know what I'm saying? And I remember the reason why I got it and all that. But I got, you know, meaningful ones like, you know, to do with my family and stuff like that, you know, stuff for my kids, stuff for my mom, stuff for my sister and stuff. So those are a little bit more meaningful to me. And obviously Jesus Christ, number one. So.
And so what you working on now? What's going on? You got your business, Underdog Empowerment. What is it exactly? And how are you helping people?
It's cool, man. I'm building Alpha Underdog now, and it's building it up from the ground up. And this time around, I'm not like freaking out, like, oh, I gotta hurry up and build this shit because I don't have nothing to prove to anyone, and I already know I can build a business, you know. And I know it takes a little bit of time to get it off the ground. And you know what we're doing is, you know, I'm selling apparel, but what we're really doing is we're helping men heal through unresolved trauma, specifically first responders, veterans, and ex-convicts. And I'm building out a year-long program based on the shit that, you know, I went through. And I'm not saying like, oh, you got to do plant medicine and go through. No, you don't have to do none of the shit, but it's available to you. You know, I want to build all that out. It's not built yet, but I got the vision. I got like finer detail in my mind, of what I want it to look
So
like.
when you say building it out, like a course of some sort or like a guide,
Not
to
a
go through,
course.
or
It would be like a year-long program, and in my mind, it'll be where, ideally, everybody, you could do group stuff, but I feel like individual stuff with this is more important. Like, that's why I have no desire to go on an ayahuasca retreat with other fucking people. I have zero desire. Like, dude, that's going to be releasing some demons. I ain't trying to be around nobody, or I ain't trying to, that's sacred shit, But, yeah. So like ideally this program would be, it's going to have some type of martial art that we'd fund. We're going to fund them for the whole thing, but a martial art program they can get into. If they want to get into MDMA, assisted psychotherapy, that shit's going to be legal. Dude, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, right before Trump got elected, were talking about how this shit should be legal. It's like, that's helping. Like, they literally were talking about on the podcast. But,
do you know why it became illegal?
I believe they made alcohol legal and all these psychedelics illegal because psychedelics actually fucking help you, and alcohol actually fucking hurts you. Bro. Why is fast food fucking readily available on every corner? Why is fucking all these carcinogens and chemicals and all that? I just think about shit like that.
I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. Yeah. The fact that alcohol is legal. Imagine if it wasn't legal right now.
Yeah.
And people go, okay, well, 85% of assaults, alcohol's involved. 80% of car crashes that end in fatalities, alcohol's involved.
Yeah.
In home abuse, alcohol's involved. Should we make this legal? We look at those stats and be like, fuck no, they shouldn't be illegal. People
smoking weed, they're like, yeah, they shouldn't drive, but they're just like, hey man, peace. They're
not hurting too much. Man. Okay, cool. So and then the vehicle for your business is apparel right now, essentially.
So $1, we got the apparel that's already rocking and rolling at Alpha Underdog, but $1 of every single product sold. Not every order, every single product. Like somebody went and bought like a hoodie and a hat. Gotcha. We're gonna put $2 to that of funding 10,000 men. That's our goal, is 10,000 plus. Awesome. It's a hefty goal, but hey, that's what we're supposed to do, right? Shoot for the stars.
Damn right.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that's amazing, man. Cool. Man, Zach, I appreciate your time so much. I'm really glad
thank you for having me on, man. Dude, you're an excellent host too, dude. Asking some killer questions, dude, because you don't see that a lot. A lot of guys just ask those surface level questions and move on. So appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much.